7-Eleven. Coming up, John Zogby. In just a minute, we're going to speak with John concerning this big announcement that came last night as Ted Cruz has exited from the race. And Zogby has a pretty interesting opinion on it, blaming Ted Cruz for all of this. And it really has been a very interesting 2 weeks if you're Ted Cruz, and now it's all over. He may have made some big missteps. We'll see what Zogby has to say. Right now in studios from the Oneida County Health Department, Phyllis Ellis. Good morning, Phyllis. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Good. So first case of the Zika virus here. We didn't think this was going to hit here, but it has. What does it mean for us? It's early. Early in the season.
What it means for us
is there a Zika season?
I believe, it's early in the mosquito season.
Mosquito season.
Yeah.
Well, the important thing to know that it's not here because someone was bitten by a mosquito here.
They traveled.
It's a traveler, like all of the cases in New York State, as well as Oneida County, that have been positive, have all been travelers to one of the countries that's identified in the CDC. If you go to the cdc.gov website, it'll give you all the countries that have the Zika virus potential there.
The United States, right? So in the South, are we? It's not an epidemic, but it's there, right?
This mosquito species is in the south warm temperatures.
Okay.
So they are saying South Florida could be potentially a hot spot for the mosquitoes. So that's an important prevention opportunity to talk about mosquito bite prevention. And no matter where you go, whether it's Florida or one of those countries, to assure that you're using the repellent and screens in the doors and windows and those kinds of things.
So, it's funny because a lot of people worried about the DEET. Is it DEET? That's the chemical.
That's the chemical in the repellent that's recommended for this mosquito.
Well, some will say, "Oh, don't use that because it's dangerous." They want to use something that is better for the environment, better for people. The problem is, the doctors say, maybe there's a slight risk, but the bigger risk is the mosquito.
Absolutely. And I believe there's different levels of DEET in different products. So, you can check the products that you use, and you can check with your healthcare provider to determine, how much percent of the DEET would be the appropriate amount, especially, when you get to kids or younger people.
This person, we're not releasing any names.
We're not releasing any information about the patient. The fact is that this patient did travel to a country.
Outside the United States?
Outside the United States,
okay.
One of the countries that has the Zika virus and the mosquito. And part of what the local health department's role is to monitor and to test and track the testing. So we don't obviously see the patient or treat the patient or have anything to do with that. It's the surveillance of the disease. So if a provider sees a patient who has traveled there, has symptoms of Zika infection, will contact us. We facilitate the testing with the state lab in Albany, the Wadsworth lab, and get those reports back to the provider who will then meet with the patient.
You mentioned he. I was thinking she. Is it a male or female who has the?
We're not releasing any information on the patient.
Okay.
The important thing to know, though, for anyone that's traveling in these countries, the most important, obviously the most critical issue is the birth defects that have been identified as a result of the Zika virus. So anyone that's traveling or has to travel to one of those countries, it's very important to speak to your healthcare provider, whether you're pregnant, soon to be pregnant, potentially pregnant, thinking about getting pregnant, because the information we have is still pretty slim about how long in your pregnancy could this affect your fetus.
Now, you guys are suggesting if you're pregnant or thinking about becoming pregnant, that you don't go.
Don't go.
Yeah.
That's what the CDC obviously is recommending, and the World Health Organization. There's just not enough known yet about it. What we do know is that all these babies born in these countries that have been affected have the microcephaly, which is the small head and brain, but also, potential more neurological defects that we don't even know yet because some of the babies haven't even been tracked for any length of time.
Now, how did we find out? So you think about this. How many times do we go to the doctors and you have something? And the doctor's like, it's just a virus. You'll get through it. In this case, though, they were able to figure it out.
And in these cases as well, many people don't seek out health care because the
Right.
symptoms are very mild.
Yeah, you think it's just another.
It's like a
something.
flu kind of symptom. You feel a little achy, maybe they do say a rash, and conjunctivitis, which is pink eye infection in your eye. Those are the most key things that they're saying about the potential.
I think my wife has it.
Unfortunately,
I swear to God.
they only last 2 days to a week, your symptoms.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you might feel like not so hot, not seek medical help, and it's gone.
You don't even know it.
So
So once it goes, does it go, or does it stay with you?
to our knowledge, it stays with men longer than women. They're saying like maybe 8 weeks for men, less time for women. It's still unclear. So the important thing about seeking medical help is if you're not pregnant or you're not going to have relations with someone after you've come back from these
Sexually transmitted. That's the one thing.
It is
that
sexually transmitted from men who have the Zika virus to women, and then in turn the women pass it on to their fetus.
But women cannot pass it on to a man?
Not that we're aware of at this
all
time. So the important thing for healthcare to seek healthcare, if you are, again, pregnant, childbearing age, you happen to go to one of those countries, you went to a wedding or a party or whatever, and come back now is the time, even if you're not symptomatic, don't have those flu symptoms, you think you're fine, but if you fit into one of those categories, the recommendation is you speak to your OB or your medical provider.
Yeah. Wow.
Because there's certain criteria for testing, and if you're pregnant or soon to be or think you are, that they'll automatically test you.
So, and we are thinking what we're reading in the papers and hearing on TV and radio is that this is worse than originally expected. What do they mean when they say that?
I think the volumes, because this mosquito species has been in Africa years back, and now it's in South Central America in the Caribbean. And it came to light in 2015 because of all these child defects that were born and then tested and then found out that they were positive for Zika. So we know so little, which I think is the key. It could be worse. It could be a lot more neurological birth defects in children that we're not even aware of at this point. So that's, I think, why it's so concerning. And I think the health departments all over the state and all over the country, our key focus is to get the word out, not to scare people. There's no public health threat in Oneida County because a person has contracted this. It's not spread like coughing and sneezing from me to you if I had the virus. So, that's not what we're, here to tell anyone. But the key point is mosquito protection.
Travel,
if you're traveling, think twice about it.
And I'm not even sure that, there's enough, mosquitoes are carrying enough right now we should be, whether it's Zika or something else, right here
even
locally.
In our country, in our state, in our community, it's mosquito season coming. So one of the things, they carry all kinds of diseases, but one of the things locally you do is to assure that you don't have pots around your house with water, stagnant water beds and things like that, because those are where the mosquitoes breed, and they spread around.
All right, well, very interesting. And for another program, we're going to do a whole topic on why in the hell are there mosquitoes in the first place? Because I can't figure that one out. That's a biggie. Yeah, I understand you got to feed the bats, but I can do without the bats. I'm okay without the bats. I don't get it. It's just one of those insects you really wonder why.
I'm sure they have a purpose.
I'm sure there's a purpose. Somewhere, someone will explain it to us. All right, thanks so much, Phyllis.
Thank you for having me.
Ellis with the Oneida County Health Department. John Zogby coming up next. We're going to talk about what in the hell did Ted Cruz do to cause all of this? It's coming right up on WIBX.